Some people are saying this is the end of beat making. Some people are saying this is the end of music, period. But one thing's for certain, producers are we're at a crazy time in history where technology and the music business have clashed in a way that I don't think we've ever seen before. Napster era, that was crazy. That changed things. And what did we end up with? Streaming services. So many people claim that that destroyed the value of music. However, we're at an entirely new juncture in the music business where you can create music that sounds basically as good as anything else out there with a single prompt without any sort of knowledge. I guess I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with the fact that these platforms are stealing from musicians, not paying musicians, not getting permission or licenses from musicians to take their music and then turn around and parlay it into tens of millions of dollars that they're getting from investors and then charging a subscription and then having no accountability in the entire equation. And the reason I say producers are is because every time I speak on this, it's producers who are rushing to the defense of the platforms that are robbing us. The nail in the generative AI coffin should have been this.
This is what Suno's model spit out.
You gotta be fucking kidding me.
These were shared with me by one of our subscribers here on the channel named Jay, who prompted Suno and shared these results with me.
And yet, when the AI platforms have been proven to spit out producer tags, in other words, it's very clear that not only are they learning on copyrighted materials, our beats, but they're also taking our content and just copying it and then distributing it out to people and saying, here, this is yours, even though it has Cash Money AP's tag in it or Honorable C Notes tag in it. That it just blows my mind that any producer could defend that. And one producer who's not defending it is Weaver Beats. It's a video that he dropped a couple months ago. I just watched it. I want to watch it with you. And I want to update some of the conversation with some of the newer developments with AI.
People have been theorizing that it has been trained off of copyrighted music.
Yep.
And it turns out we have proof that that is what is going on. So we're going to take a look at that now. So I found this from a person named Ezra on Twitter. It says, I have a feeling we need a lawsuit or something. As you can see here, this is the Blade Ice Dancer album on rateyourmusic.com. It has a bunch of tags and descriptors listed, and I wonder how those could be used. What happens when you take those same tags and then you put it into Udio? So as you can see there, he just copy and pasted the exact same tags. That's weird. That's literally Blade's voice. And in this instance here, it gave someone a Young Lean song, or it did before it is no longer available.
These beats, they lift me up.
Yeah, that's Young Lean.
So I have a Young Lean shirt. I am an authoritative speaker on this, and that is Young Lean's voice, 1-to-1 for sure. All right, we have one here that's literally Future. That's Future's voice if I've ever heard it before. Yeah, AI can do crazy things if you literally feed it the exact vocal that it needs to copy. So yes, this is very... There are lawsuits happening already, and there's going to be even more lawsuits.
The RIAA is suing Udio and Suno right now. Those two platforms, they're the biggest, but they also have a pretty clear history of training on copyrighted materials and outputting material that infringes on existing copyrights. Again, one great example is the producer tag. It should have been over from there. There should be no argument there. But of course there is. And one of the main arguments, and this is also the argument that AI platforms themselves are using, is fair use. Producers just love misusing the term fair use. See, I'm smart enough to know I don't understand the law. That's why I interviewed a lawyer about this, and that video is coming soon. And she explains it far better than I could. But producers claim, for example, that sampling is fair use because it's transformative. So therefore, I can go out, sample a track, and as long as I transform that sample, say it's a Rick James sample, I'm legally able to do that with no consequences. I don't have to clear that sample. It's fair use. Well, that's not what fair use is for, and if that were the case, then sample clearance wouldn't be a thing. So we have to use our common sense if it's available to us, and to some it's just simply not there. For the sake of fairness, there was a gentleman that I had a disagreement with in the comments section on Facebook, and then he followed me over to YouTube and was cussing me out and calling me all types of names. This is an example of that. So let's just go down to, we'll go past him calling me and Dream Life dickheads. Oh, he called us dickheads twice. That's a lot of dick. But at the end, he says, we don't need to argue anymore. So he's extending an olive branch. And then he concludes by saying, all I was saying
is fair use always allows transformation. End of story.
So there it is, fair use. I have a feeling he didn't pass the bar. He may have shared a Hershey's with a friend once or twice throughout his lifetime. But let's see what fair use actually says. There are 4 factors of fair use. Fair use is a defense. It's also a law. That's the part that I get hazy on. There are limits to what I know. I make beats, and I don't think I'm the stupidest person in the room, but certainly not the smartest. So basically, fair use is a defense for when you actually are caught using copyrighted materials, potentially infringing on a copyright. And the lawyer, Crystal, this is just a teaser for what's to come on my channel. She brings this up. The fact that Udio, and Suno claim fair use shows that they are admitting to using copyrighted materials already, because otherwise fair use wouldn't apply. Interesting, right? A lot of people aren't catching that. In determining whether the use made of a work in any particular case is a fair use, the factors to be considered shall include, number 1, the purpose and character of the use, including whether such use is of commercial nature or is for non-profit educational purposes. Non-profit educational purposes are part of the fair use defense. However, Suno and Udio are charging for their services. So non-profit goes out the window, and realistically so does educational, because I'm not learning shit using those platforms other than the fact that they can do an amazing Cash Money AP tag impression. 4, I think, is important. The effect and the use upon the potential market for or value of the copyrighted work. You know what? I'm not a lawyer, but it sounds to me as though there is a pretty substantial impact on the music business if copyrights are allowed to be infringed and then output and then shared for profit without any consequences. Now, what about the tags? I had one commenter claim that the prompts are the reason the tags are being output, which doesn't make any goddamn sense, but that's what the comment section is for. It's a safe space for people to make absolutely no sense and still pat themselves on the back. If it's the users who are inputting text-based prompts that force these AI platforms to spit out an honorable C note or a Cash Money AP or a Metro Boomin tag, or if it's that users are uploading copyrighted works into Suno and Udio, and Suno and Udio are just taking what's uploaded and then spitting it back out, that's not a defense. That makes it even worse, because what's happening is their platforms are being used to facilitate copyright infringement, just as Napster was facilitating copyright infringement, just as the Pirate Bay was facilitating copyright infringement. Both of those platforms were taken down. It wasn't an excuse that other people were the ones using their system to commit the criminal act. All of that is irrelevant. The only part that's relevant is that these platforms are outputting audio that directly and blatantly infringes on another person. In this case, it's very clear with producer tag that it's infringing on the rights of producer, and specific ones, Day Trip, Cash Money AP. Who knows who else's tag is stored somehow in Suno's memory banks? That's not how AI works. Bro, I don't give a fuck. Stop stealing. People are calling us hypocrites because we as producers will use samples. So therefore the AI platforms are free and clear to infringe on copyrights as they see fit. If I sample Beyonce, right? She, her songwriters, her labels, her publishers, they have to approve of the sample, and I need to pay them for clearance. I need to negotiate with them. They are humans. They also get equity in the song. And if I don't clear the sample, they have legal recourse. I get in trouble for that. They can either take my song down, or they can sue me for what I've made, or they can sue me for statutory damages. There are all types of options for them as copyright owners. Now, if I create 100 Beyonce sounding AI songs that trained on copyrighted Beyonce songs, I don't have to clear anything. The sound recording copyright, based on what happened with the BBL Drizzy case, becomes public domain. And I end up owning the underlying composition copyright if I inputted, say, the lyrics, if I inputted enough in order for me to be considered a co-writer. Now, I just cut out everybody involved in creating the ingredient. The AI platform needed those ingredients to create that output. And they're doing this with millions of songs a day. They're doing this millions and millions of times a day. So if you're not seeing the fundamental difference between a person sampling a single song and having to clear it, or else they face legal consequences, and an AI platform essentially sampling potentially tens of millions of songs without any clearance, you're I need a new word because I've run the word moron into the ground. Dullard. The other difference is if it's the same as sampling, then they can't use the fair use doctrine. I can't invoke the fair use doctrine when I get in trouble for not clearing a sample that ends up as a song that's a hit that's generated hundreds of thousands of dollars. I can't even upload a beat with a royalty-free sample to YouTube without the Content ID system flagging me for copyright infringement. And it hasn't happened yet, but it's going to happen that a producer is going to use one of these generative AI platforms to create a sample that they then make a beat with that they think is free and clear, and then they're going to get in trouble. Because right there in Suno's terms, and I don't know if this is really a strong legal defense, but what Suno says is, whatever happens on the platform, it's not their responsibility. Yes, they created the platform. Yes, they trained their AI platform on millions of copyrighted works. But if you get in trouble as the end user, that's on you. Suno's not responsible. You're getting sued for $500,000. Good luck. Suno doesn't give a f. Let's flesh out this sampling concept a little more. I talked to MJ from the AI company Lemonade, who pointed out the fact that if AI platforms output the same thing more than once, that's problematic, because what does that say about the algorithm? And that blew my mind, because when I watched the Sync My Music video, multiple times the same producer tag, the same Cash Money AP producer tag kept coming up.
And that wasn't the only instance of Cash Money AP's tag getting spit out by Suno's model. Here's another one.
If the AI is truly generative, why would it be generating copyrighted materials the same way with different prompts in multiple instances? Then it's not truly generative AI, right? What is it then? It's just taking existing works, breaking those existing works apart, but keeping the individual smaller pieces intact and then outputting them as is. It's very easy to prove that this is what's happening, because a producer tag, again, it's a watermark. What are producer tags meant to do? They're meant to prevent theft. They're meant to prove ownership and authorship. And that's exactly what they're doing. And it's proving that these AI platforms are, number one, training on copyrighted materials, and number two, outputting material that infringes on existing copyrights. It couldn't be clearer. I keep coming back to this point because I don't understand why there's even an argument after that point was made. What does this mean? Does this mean that AI platforms, rather than generating ideas, are actually just sampling ideas? Yeah, if you sample something, again, that's not fair use and it's not legal without clearance. So how are they getting away with this? Well, we don't know. Here's what Crystal, top music attorney, had to say about this.
And you as a producer come in and you remix my song. Your version is a new thing, but it contains my stuff. It might be my vocals, it might be my instrumentation to some degree. The remix is a derivative work, so my ownership and my original carries into the new work. But the other piece here is whether there is direct sampling happening.
Yep.
It's really tough. I don't even know what the explanation could be.
The lawsuit against Udio and Suno is still ongoing. Just to review, the RIAA, who represents the major labels, is suing these generative AI platforms. What I said would happen is this. I think the labels will sue the platforms. They'll overwhelm them with what they're asking, because I think they're asking for like $150,000 for each instance of copyright infringement. So it would be impossible for these platforms to pay that to the labels. So they'll effectively force them into either shutting down, and then the labels will take over the AI market and centralize it, or they'll force the AI platforms to partner with them and give them the majority market share in some sort of incredibly lucrative licensing deal. The same way we saw the record labels, Universal Music Group, pull their licensing from TikTok when they weren't getting what they wanted from TikTok. They could do the same thing. They could license their catalog so the AI platform could train on them and get paid. And then if they're not happy with how much they're getting paid, then they could just pull that catalog from the AI platforms. Now, at this point, it might be more likely that the labels are just trying to get rid of the competition, because we're already seeing a generative AI, including some major label artists, including Sia, Charlie XCX, Demi Lovato, John Legend. This is now slated to be released at some point, and it looks just like these other AI platforms. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not in love with the idea of the labels winning this case and then taking over the AI market. I think They're probably going to fuck it up, but the fact that they're going to fuck it up makes me want them to win this lawsuit. If they win the lawsuit and they mess up AI completely, because they're going to have to find a way to make money off of AI, which means they're probably going to charge a lot for it. They're going to give a pretty terrible end user experience, and it's not going to be as popular or as fun as these more decentralized and chaotic platforms are right now. That effectively destroys a lot of the power that generative AI has. And then what you're going to end up seeing is these AI platforms being scared into doing the right thing and content. Like if an AI platform wants to jump into the fray and say, all right, we want to create some type of sample making AI platform. Well, you're going to have to talk to Frank Dukes. You're going to have to talk to Dreamlife. You're going to have to talk to the Rucker Collective, and you're going to have to license from them their catalog to train your sample making AI on, and they're going to have to agree to those terms. So it may end up being a very fair situation where producers do end up getting some kind of sample generating AI platform, but if they get a placement with that sample, they have to give 10% to whoever's model it trained on. So they might have to give 10% to Kavi. They might have to pay a subscription fee that ends up getting shared among all the producers whose work helped train that AI. And I think that's way fair, because that's all we want. I'm not against AI being incorporated into producers' workflow. Again, I'm the person that has shown how to use a lot of these AI platforms, shown how I use a lot of these AI platforms as a music producer. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, and I damn sure don't think there's any stopping AI. But I do feel like there are very clear paths right now. One is the path of accepting that AI is here and we can't do anything about it, but we can fight to make it fair for us. And two, the person that's just ready to marry a robot and make love to the algorithm. And I'm not in that camp. If you are, cool. Why are you watching this video to the end?